everybody, it's Kelvin for Linde here, racing driver for Audi Sport in the DTM and in GT World Challenge. And today we've got a special track guide around Road America. This is week 6 of the iRacing calendar, and I'm going to show you guys what's important for the perfect lap around this spectacular racetrack. Let's go. Alright, and we're starting. Here we go. Starting the long approach here at Road America. It's a long straight, so you want to exit the last corner as well as possible. I like to prep my laps, take a very early braking and then early on power. So we now approach turn 1, 6th gear. I'm looking for the 3 cones on the left side. This corner you typically like to carry a bit of speed, not a long straight afterwards, so we can afford to sacrifice the apex speed. Down to 2nd gear. This one's a very important corner. We want to use all the exit and you want to be early on power. You see me ramping up the throttle trace very aggressively, especially on the Audi or a Porsche. You have a lot of traction, so you can afford to be aggressive on throttle and really maximize your exit speed for the long straights. We're looking for the 2 board on the right hand side. Down to 2nd gear, and we want to be again aggressive on power, approaching up the hill. It's a blind entry, so I like to brake very softly 2nd gear and focus on the exit because we've got a sweeping right-hander here. Particularly dangerous in the race on high fuel, but we managed it there quite fine. Again, looking for the 2 board on the right hand side. You want to be very tight on the apex so the track drops away. We've got a nice long right-hander here, synonymous with Road America. And here you want to be smooth with your throttle application. You don't want to upset the balance of the car. The aero balance is so important around here. Looking for the 1 board on the left as your turn-in reference. Flat out right-hander in 5th gear. Shifting to 6th just on the exit. As we approach the final sector. So far it's a clean lap. Looking for the 3 board on the left-hand side. You want to get to your apex and use all the track on the exit. This is very, let's say, typical for Road America. Big exit curbs. You want to use the maximum track width everywhere. Flat out left-hander, and you want to bring the car back quickly. And down to 3rd gear, we can carry quite a bit of apex speed, but you still want to get a good exit because we're going uphill for a long drag to the finish line. And that was 1 complete lap of Road America. Alright guys, so here we're going to do a lap a little bit slower than the previous ones. Approaching the last corner now, as I typically like to do. I like to do a slow approach and make sure I get on power earlier as I accelerate onto the back straight. This is typically good for an easy half a tenth when you cross the line going towards turn 1. So make sure, especially in qualifying, that you use this approach because it's free lap time, that you don't have to do any effort. You literally have to prepare your last corner and start the lap. So we're across the line now. Turn 1, I wouldn't call it a overtaking possibility. So generally the best approach here in a race scenario is to go for your racing line, focus on your braking points, brake as late as possible. Following turn 1 is not a very long straight, so here I want you all to focus on your approach. Braking late at the 2nd row of cones. You carry your mid-corner speed, you keep the mid-corner speed up. There's not a long straight, so even if you lose a little bit on the apex or on the exit, it's not going to ruin your lap. We're coming down here now, downhill, sorry. It's an important entry phase here. You want to brake early enough so that we can prepare the exit of this corner. We want to shoot off this corner, use all the exit curb and get onto the straight with as much speed as possible. Not only for your qualifying lap, but especially in the race, because this is leading into one of the best overtaking spots on the track. At this point, you're focusing on your competitor in front. In the best case, you're in a slipstream and you're preparing a late lunge going into turn 3. Generally, you want to be on the inside here, using these references on the side as a help for a braking marker. And you want to make sure you slow the car down. Second gear in qualifying, possibly even 1st gear when you're making an overtake, and make sure you get a good exit. Going to turn 4, it's a blind corner. So my general advice when I go into this corner, and it's something I do myself as well, I prefer to not be aggressive on the brakes because the car is unloaded, it's light. So instead of braking late, unsettling the car, I prefer to brake a bit earlier, a bit lighter, so the car is staying stable. And I can carry a much better mid-corner speed going into the middle sector now. I've got a fast right-hander which is a slight lift. I prefer to do the lift before the corner, not at mid-corner, just purely because you keep the platform of the car a lot more stable when you do it before the corner. Come down the hill, we're braking at the 2 board on your right hand side. I like using the brake markers here because they're quite clear and easy to see. As in every corner, the apex is important, but especially there because the track drops away. We come underneath the bridge now to this long right-hander, which is iconic for Road America. And over here, you want to carry all your speed in. You want to keep the platform of the car consistent, and you want to be very, very fine with your throttle inputs. When the car is at high speed, it's very easy to lose the car, induce understeer, so you want to keep a very consistent throttle application. And also, when you pick up throttle again, you want to be very smooth. We're looking at the 1 board here on the left hand side. That's what I typically use as my turn-in reference. You got to be careful here to avoid this curve, especially on high fuel in the race. It could lead to a lot of accidents. I've crashed a couple of cars here in the past on iRacing, so you really want to be very accurate and spot on. At the same time as it being a tricky corner, it can also open up the door for some overtaking. If your competitor makes a mistake, you want to be right on his ass. Like I said, in the race, maybe you need a slight lift and then really focus on getting a good exit so you can line him up into this slow right-hander. 3rd gear or even 2nd gear, depending on your fuel load and what time of the race it is. Very important in Road America to use all the curb. Even if you use it, kick up a bit of dust, it's also fine. So we come into the 2nd last corner. Typically, it opens up again an overtaking possibility into the last corner. However, I wouldn't recommend going for the overtake in the last corner because it's one of those corners where if you go for the inside, you're already sacrificing your exit, and your competitor's just going to say, listen, I'll let him go here. I'm going to get a good exit, and he'll just drag straight past you with a slipstream through this long, long straight. So I'd probably wait it off at this corner. If you're feeling confident in the race and you've got good speed, don't necessarily go for the overtake here because the chance of you getting overtaken again on the straight is very high. We finish a lap. That's pretty much a lap of Road America. There's a lot of tricks, especially in the race. It can be very tricky because it's an old school track. There's no runoff area. There's no spots where you can just kind of let the car run off. When you make a mistake here, it hurts. In the sim as well. So yeah, it's all about being calculated in your overtakes, calculated in your qualifying laps, knowing how much risk you want to take. Typically in iRacing, you have 2 laps as usual in qualifying. So my approach for qualifying here is to really do 1 banker lap, get a lap in here without any off tracks, and then you go with a slightly increased risk for lap 2. That's generally my approach in qualifying. In the race, as I said, you have to be calculated with your overtakes. The car is generally tricky to drive on high fuel, so wait it out. The races are generally quite long, so wait it out. Let the fuel drain out and analyze your competitors, especially if you're in the lead bunch. This is a race which is pretty much dominated or will be dominated by fuel saving and slipstream effect. So there's no rush to lead the race from the first corner. So really use the time to analyze your competition, and in the end, I think it's a perfect recipe to go for the win here in Road America. Thanks guys for tuning in. I hope I was a bit of help for you guys, and yeah, as always, check out Coach Dave Academy for some setups if you need help on that end, if you're not an engineer like me. And yeah, all the best for the week of racing.